morning, everyone. We're going to start our meeting. I forgot my gavel, so. Okay, we're going to open our meeting this morning. It's our workshop meeting for Tuesday, April 28th, 2026. It is now 9 a.m. And I've called it to order, and we're going to do our invocation now. And God, our Father, we praise you and thank you for our blessings. We thank you for this day and ask for the Holy Spirit to guide us this day in all of our discussions and interactions. We thank you, God, for all those present at our meeting and for all those who are streaming. And we ask for your help and guidance so that those present are patient, understanding, respectful to one another as we remember that we are a community of family, friends, and neighbors. And we ask all this to you, our Father in heaven, in the name of your Son, Jesus, and our Lord and Savior. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, next we have our roll call.
Chairperson Sean Slattery.
Present.
First Vice Chair Bob Bachman.
Present.
Second Vice Chair Rick Haggard.
Present.
Treasurer Don Lemaster.
Present.
Secretary Deb Burns. Here. Assistant Secretary Jackie Mitchell.
Here.
Trustee Joni Anderson.
Present.
Trustee George Clench.
Present.
Trustee Tim Celo.
Here.
Sergeant at Arms Rick Weber.
Here.
District Manager Vicki Lawrence.
Present.
Okay, next we have our district manager's report.
Good morning, Holiday Park trustees and residents. Thank you for all your attendance and participation in trustee meetings this season. Hearing directly from residents is extremely valuable and helps guide decisions that benefit the entire community, so thank you. Please note that any damage caused to the gate entry equipment by a resident or their guest is a violation of the general rules and regulations and will be addressed with the established enforcement and fine procedures. We still continue to have lift arm incidents. So just please be aware and pay attention and report any damage that you see or that you've done yourself to the office. The bicycle pedestrian gate upgrade is now complete and provides a safer access to the park. To exit the park, a pole with a green exit button has now been installed on the right side of the bike path as you enter towards that entry gate. Simply press the green button to open the gate. The button is located directly in front of the bicycle pedestrian gate sign. To enter the park, a new access control pad has been installed with multiple entry point options. You have a keypad entry where you would enter the assigned 4-digit code, and then you press pound. So we're back to the pound on that. And then, sorry. Proximity card reader is where you scan your issue, the white plastic card. And then also you will have the MyQ community app, which you can open the gate using that app. If you have any questions or need assistance, please contact the office. Landscaping improvements for phase 2, including the building, pool, common areas, and fountains, are scheduled to begin on May the 4th. So those residents that are full-time here or may still have not traveled up north yet will be seeing delivery of rocks and all of the landscaping materials that we're going to be installing. And this work will be completed by our maintenance and groundskeeper teams, so we greatly appreciate the work that they will be doing. Our new phase 2 pool furniture is expected to arrive in June. We are excited for the residents to enjoy the refreshed pool area. There have been inquiries regarding the existing pool furniture, which we will be discussing during today's meeting. The pavilion groundbreaking ceremony will take place today at 1:30 at the pavilion site next to the phase 1 shuffleboard courts. This project marks a significant milestone for our community, and we look forward to sharing progress updates along the way. We are grateful to have a generous matching donors supporting this effort. Thank you, Louis. Contributions, I'll pause for the hand clap. Thank you, Louis. Contributions will be doubled, and every donations, no matter the amount, makes a difference. Check should be made payable to Holiday Park, put in the memo section, Pavilion Fund donation, and cash donations are always also accepted. As many residents prepare to leave for the season, please remember to designate a property caretaker and provide their information to the office. Be sure to secure or store outdoor items that could become hazardous during storms. A leaving for the season checklist is available in the lobby near the office. Safe travels to those that are heading back north in the next coming weeks. And for our full-time residents, I look forward to working together this summer to continue making Holiday Park a wonderful place to live. Thank you.
Thank you, Vicki. Okay, next on our agenda is the chairperson's report. Before I report, I just want everyone to know that there's been some changes in our the hookups for our mics. So I think everyone here can hear that they're much louder today in this room. Hopefully people can hear them just fine on the streaming. And so I think you don't have to be quite so close. So sort of we can judge, but we'll let you know if you're too close. But if you're too close today, it's going to be very loud, I think, in the room. And that's fine. This is just a temporary change. It's for this today, and I don't know, it might carry over to the next one, but then hopefully next year we're going to have the mic situation settled and working much better. So we thank everyone for your patience. I want to welcome everyone. The board welcomes everyone that are attending today and those who are streaming. We'd like you to keep your comments, resident comments, to 3 minutes or less, and please refrain from any side comments or discussions that they're distracting to others, especially today, because the way the mics are set up, they can actually also pick up the discussions going on the side comments, and they might be streamed. So keep your comments short, or no comments if you can do that. I have a couple things for today. First, I want to just bring up the fact that the board received a new packet called remote call-in instructions for the remote caller. These are for board members who might be absent and if they want to call in to the meeting. We haven't talked about these yet. I don't know if we want to talk about them through this as a supplemental today for the board, or if you want to bring them up at our next meeting, put them on the agenda for our last meeting, so that but it would probably behoove us to talk about today, since our last meeting, we have a member that won't be here. So why don't we add that as a supplemental? And I have actually 3 supplementals, so it's a long day. Hopefully we'll get through things quickly. That will be number 3. The remote call-in instructions will be number 3. I would like us to talk about the summer coverage for change orders for the pavilion project quickly, and then I'd also like the board to talk about the summer coverage for gate hits, because as you know, the process for the gate hits falls under the fine committee process, which means that they come to the office brings them to the board first, and then they go to the fine committee, and then the fine is assessed. What I would like us to talk about, well, we'll do it then, but I'd like to talk about that process, because the board is not meeting over the summer, so we need to figure out, since hitting the gate happens so often, the gate arms, it's probably going to continue into the summer, so we want to figure out how we can make that happen smoother, especially if the board's not meeting. So that's another item, and then the third item would be the remote call-in instructions. Okay, so we'll keep that to the side here. And that's all I have. Oh, I did have another item that I was reminded of. I just skipped right over it. I want to remind all the residents as well as our trustees that we do have our annual training is this Thursday at 10 a.m. here in the Phase 1 hall. So I expect hopefully all of our trustees will be here for this annual training, and then anyone else who is registered with the office. Thank you. That's it. Next item is our trustee reports. just open it up for the trustees, whoever has something. Mention it.
I'd like to get Kim Jacobs' permission, access to remote in over the summer if needed. We already have a form we had a couple years ago. I'd just like to get that.
Okay, so anyone have an issue with that? That's something that we've enacted in the past, and we'll enact it again. We'll just have the signature on that form, and we'll be all set. Thank you. Rick, anything else?
I just wanted to say that the lawn care service has switched to once a week instead of Monday through Wednesday. So they have 2 crews here that are doing all phase 1 and phase 2 all on Fridays. This week has been a lot of learning. I have to tell you that the new crew members that they brought in have been very confused of the names of our court. So I appreciate your feedback, both good and bad. I am forwarding that. Please have a little patience. Just a reminder, I had a lot of individuals that were saying that they did not edge around their house and their shed and their air conditioner. Just a reminder, we do not have a landscape clause in our, they're only to edge the carport area and the sidewalk area. But please, please, if you see something that we can do better, if you can tell me on a Friday when the supervisor is here, they are very responsive of going and correcting things while they're on site. When you let me know after they've left, it's going to be the following week before they're going to correct those. So I appreciate all the feedback. Thank you.
Joey, while we're talking about lawns, I've asked Vicki to make sure that our September workshop, when we come back, we bring up, we talk about our current contract. So we have a contract for next year already in place. But I would like the board to discuss issues just like what you mentioned, and possibly open that contract up for renegotiation, as well as include us another year, so extend it for another year. So it's something that we usually do, but in this case, I think, for instance, the weed whacking all the way around the home. They used to do that. It wasn't a line item in the contract, but it was something that was being done in our park. And now, because of some issues with them hitting the skirting and breaking skirting on some homes, because they didn't have the foot clearance, at least, of cement around the home, that they were doing damage that they had to replace. And because of that, they stopped doing it. And it wasn't in the contract that they had to do it, so they could get away with that. So that's just one item that we might want to renegotiate. And there are some other things that are going on. So I just think it would be a good idea for us to go over it in our September workshop, possibly make some changes to the current contract, renegotiate that with them, and then extend it for another year.
That's why it's extremely important that if you have something that you would like addressed, that you let me know those things. Facebook is typically not the best place to discuss those elements, but feel free to give me a call, and I'd be happy to take your feedback and do what I can.
Thank you. Anything else from other trustees? Being none, we're going to move on. We have resident comments. Any resident comments this morning? So we have none in the room.
I won't.
Oh, we have one. Go ahead, Russ, come up here. Russ, if it's not an agenda item, this first part, we take comments for agenda items only, and if it's not one of for the agenda, bring it up at the end, if you would, please.
Okay, I think it has to deal with lawn maintenance. Is that on the agenda?
Well, it's not, that was just a report. We don't have an agenda item.
Okay.
So if you would just, I'm gonna open it up again for resident comments at the end of the meeting. So that would be the time to bring that up.
Okay.
If you would, thank you. Okay, we have no old business, so we're gonna move on to new business. The first item we have here is our final budget review for the 2026-2027 budget.
Sean, we're not going to do
is.
Tom is here? Okay,
Yes, Tom
yes.
is here
I'm sorry, I didn't recognize that you were here, Tom. I'm sorry.
because
Tom.
we normally do that.
Tom is here, and we will move, so item number 4, which is our 2025 Holiday Park audit, we're gonna move that up to number 1 today, so that Tom can go over that with us. Go ahead, Tom.
Thank you very much, and nice to see everyone. The purpose of my visit today is to provide you a brief introduction to the audit of the financial statements for the year ended September 30th, 2025. The audit is in a draft form. We don't believe that there will be any material adjustments to it, but it could contain spelling or formatting errors, and it'll go through quite a few eyes once it's issued. The issuance of the audit will occur sometime subsequent to your next board meeting. So you have a good 2 to 3 weeks to review. It's a lot of information, and you just got it last night actually. So I didn't expect that anyone would be reading it and now, but if over the next 2 weeks you have a chance to look at it and you have any questions, my suggestion would be to put those questions through Vicki or Don, and I can respond to that. During the course of the audit, we encountered no issues in performing the audit, and found no matters that we considered deficiencies or improprieties. So what I'd like to do is just go through the contents of the audit, and I'm not going to go dive into details. I'm not going to actually even talk about numbers, other than I will mention that the district is in very fine, healthy financial condition. These are your numbers. They're just formatted in a way that's a prescribed format for these types of entities. It's a lot of pages and a lot of information, but this is the standard presentation for this type of entity. First of all, it starts with an auditor's report, and we intend to issue what's known as an unmodified auditor's report, which is exactly what you'd want to receive. It does take almost 3 pages to state that, but there's nothing in this report that is outside the standard auditor's report. Then on page 4, there's another section called Management's Discussion and Analysis. This is meant to be more of a plain English description of the financial highlights, a little overview of the financial statements, some comparison of the district's net position and net activities for 2 years at a very high level. It's good, probably easier to read this than it is some of the reports that we'll get into later. Beginning on page 9 is what's called a statement of net position. And if you've ever operated a business or been in business, this is the equivalent of your balance sheet. And this purports all of the assets, liabilities, and the remaining equity, which is referred to in this accounting jargon as net position. So the district has $4.8 million in assets, a substantial portion of that being in cash and certificates of deposit at $1.6 million, and capital assets, which are building, property, and equipment, net of accumulated depreciation of just a little over $3 million. There are some payables and accrued expenses that have been reported for items that were still unpaid or in progress. And as you are aware, you have a debt with a bank, the bond, which is also reported under non-current liabilities. There's a portion due within 1 year that's segregated, and then the portion that is greater than 1 year. And at this point, that's about $1,925,000 at September 30th. You made a payment subsequent to September 30th, so it's less than that now. And your net position, which is again the equivalent of equity in business terms, is almost $2.7 million. Page 10 is a statement of activities. It first shows the expenses that you incurred, any charges for services, and the net, and then shows the assessments, investment income, and other income. You had a very favorable change in net position this year of $636,000 of increased your net position that we just discussed earlier. Page 11 is a balance sheet for what's called the governmental funds, which is the general fund. The general fund just reports your day-to-day assets. It doesn't include the land, buildings, and it doesn't include the debt. It's just here are the assets you have to run the day-to-day operations of the district. And those are included in the balance sheet previously, but this is a more refined look at just the liquid assets, if you want to call them that. So total liquid assets of $1,000,007. There were total liabilities payable of $200,000, and fund balance, which is $1,485,000. Then, in order to reconcile that report to the net position that we discussed earlier, the two main items that reconcile that are the capital assets that I mentioned. They're not included in that balance sheet we looked at, and then the long-term liabilities are included in that. So those are the two items I mentioned, that since those are not your day-to-day funds available, those are excluded, and that's why this reconciliation is shown. Then also there's a statement of revenues and changes in fund balance, again for the general fund. Showed that your revenues were a little over $2 million, $2,000,084,000. Your expenditures were $1,626,000, and that included debt service and capital outlay. And the net for the governmental funds was $457,000 of positive change. So in both ways you look at this, whether you're looking at the comprehensive, complete government entity, or you're looking at just the general fund, they both report that you had a strong year and you increased your assets and your equity in the organization. And there's a reconciliation also that looks at the two items, that the net change in the fund balance of the government fund and the change in position that we talked about. And again, the differences are, in one report you exclude out depreciation, and then you also have to take into account the bond principal. So this would allow you to reconcile those two different reports. And then there is a budget to actual report. Shows your, this is on page 15, shows your budget, the actual, and you have a very favorable to budget. We're $69,000 more in revenues, $96,000 less than expenses than budget, and for a net over budget of, or a net positive variance from the budget of $166,000. Page 16, there's footnotes to these financial statements, starting with note 1, describes the accounting policies that the district uses, all which are standard accounting policies used by this type of entity. Note 2 discusses your district tax. Note 3 discusses deposits. Note 4 discusses that your activities are, your risk management is covered by commercial insurance. Note 5 is a detailed summary of additions and deletions for property and equipment, and this will tie back to the reported amounts that we looked at earlier. Unit 7 is the long-term debt. That's the $2 million bond, original $2 million bond payable. And during this fiscal year, you paid principal of $75,297,000, and the balance of it was reduced to $1,924,703. There is a description of that, and also a summary of the payments. Totaling $161,000 per year that go out through the term of 2042, and it shows what your 5-year requirements are for the cash outlay, and then also takes that into account that there was interest in those total payments, so it ties back to the long-term debt balance that we show, $1,924,000. Note 8 shows the fund balance classifications. Currently, you have a road resurfacing, the sidewalk reserve, and the future pavilion has been funded through the contributions that were mentioned earlier. Total reserve funds included in the amounts that we've been discussing of $666,085 at this point. Page 22 has schedules that have been included in your financial statements in the past. It's capital outlay and repairs and maintenance, and compared to budget and variances. Then on page 23 is a report on internal control and on compliance. Our audit considers two things in addition to the financial statements. Correctness is that do you have an internal control system that doesn't have deficiencies? And our work concluded that your internal control system does not have deficiencies that would lead to being reported in an audit. And we also consider whether, given laws and regulations that apply to you, whether you have complied with those, and to our knowledge and testing and review of the financials, we had no reason to believe that you did comply with laws and regulations that are applicable to you. Page 25 is a report on compliance with a particular statute regarding investments of public funds. Your investable funds are in bank accounts and CDs and small balance and state regulated fund. So you complied with those laws by having those funds in banks that were called qualified depositories, and the limited amount that you have with the state fund. Then there is what's called a management letter. This is a required report for the Auditor General of Florida. It just talks about some items such as whether there were any findings, whether there were any issues with financial condition, and that would be if we were performing the audit and we felt that you were heading toward a disaster or failing or anything like that. We're required to consider that. And obviously, these numbers don't show that at all. That was not an issue whatsoever. And the certain other items that are reported, requirement of the statutes, such as the number of employees in the last day of the year, the number of independent contractors in the last month of the year, and then some information about your annual special assessment, and also about the totals of special assessments that were collected and the total of the bonds issued. These are all information that required by the statutes that they're pretty much in the numbers already, but these are specific items they want disclosed in this report. All right, so all report. You have a very strong financial position. You had no deficiencies, no findings, nothing that I need to report to you today that you have to take decisive action on. So it'll be filed with the state of Florida again sometime in mid-May after everyone's had a chance to take a look at it and I get report feedback from management.
Thank you, Tom. Does anyone have any questions?
The question I have, Tom, is that you mentioned on note 3 that the district maintains cash balances in several financial institutions. To my knowledge, we only have one bank or financial institution.
I think you're right. I will update that. I think in the past there maybe was some CDs, but since you've been with different banks, but since you've been with the UC Bank, I believe everything is concentrated in one bank. So I will make that correction.
We do have money with the Florida Prime that is required by law. I don't know, I thought maybe that's what you.
No, that's actually addressed in that next section called
Okay.
investments.
All right.
So, but I agree that we should only indicate that there's one bank involved.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tom.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. I want to thank Tom, and I should have introduced him at the beginning here. This is Tom Kramer. He is our auditor. We've been working with Tom in this auditors group. It's called Suppley, Shea, Kramer, and Miller. And we've been working, since I've been on the board, we've been working with the same auditor. They do a good job for us. I want to thank him for getting it done so that we could review it today at this workshop, and that we can, if we have questions, we have another meeting in order to discuss those and get that information back to you. So, but other than if there being none, if there are nothing, excuse me, if there's nothing that we have to report or changes that we have questions on, this will be, other than, as Tom mentioned, some typos, if there are any in here, like the one that was just mentioned. This will be the final also. And it will be reported back to us in mid-May. So again, thank you, Tom.
Thank you very much, Tom.
Thank you.
And I also want to thank our office and our budget. Well, I want to thank Don, but I also want to thank our financial committee for doing such a great job this year in keeping our records intact, and so that this makes it easy for our auditor to do this work. Thank you for everyone involved.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Tom.
Okay, now we're going to move on. Tommy, yes, you can excuse if you'd like to leave. We're going to go on to our final budget review for the 2026-2027 budget. The only question I had, I had two questions. First, were there any changes from this from our workshop when we reviewed it? No. Okay, so no changes from the workshop. And then we're going to be talking about deed restriction changes coming up here towards the end of the meeting. And I want to just let everyone know that there is money budgeted for our attorney fees for that when we get to that this next budget. So, and that's under 8851, and it's on page 3. It's on page 3. So there's money in there for that when we get to that. Other than that, Don, did you have anything you want to say, or are there any questions for any other board members?
I have a couple questions. On page 1 and on page 3, you've got name badges. Is there a reason for 2 spots for the name badges?
Where are you at, Bob,
On page 1,
what number?
6149, and then the next one is over on page 3.
All right, Bob. One is the revenue money we take in on badges. The other one is when we buy badges.
Okay.
That's the difference. One is revenue, the other one's we pay.
Okay, and then what are accrue fees? 8109. first page, about a little over halfway up.
That is our 401K.
Okay.
They now started,
And last,
we're past the 1 year mark where we did not have any administrative fees. So, those will be our annual administrative fees for that 401K plan.
and lastly, HIPAA fountain, 8701. What is that?
That's electric, Bob, for that fountain.
Okay.
That is electricity to run that fountain. Or the maintenance of that fountain. Yes. That's electric. Yes.
Okay, thank you. You're welcome.
Any other questions from trustees? Being none, thank you, Don.
Yes, I just wanted to thank the finance committee as Bernie, Gary Chapman, and Roy Auger for all their hard work, and Vicki and Erica. Erica came in on her day off. We paid her, but she volunteered to come in when we had a financial meeting. And I want to thank her. Thank you, Erica.
Okay, next item is, it says NB2 here, is our resolution 2026-2, and it's our 2027 annual assessment. Basically, this is a document that we have to submit every year by law, and the resolution is pretty much the same from year to year. The dates just change, and the amounts for the assessment may change. Again, if Don, you have anything you want to state specifically on this, other than our assessment is not changing again, it remains the same as in the past 2 years. Basically, the dates have changed on this.
Yes.
Any questions from our board? Okay, moving on. Of course, we will be taking our budget to our next meeting, and we're gonna have a hearing prior to our next meeting in May to again go through the budget and for any questions from our residents. So this budget is out there on our website, and you can take a look at it. If you have any questions, come to that meeting to ask them. And we will be going through our assessment resolutions at that meeting also. So, the next item we have is our resolution 2026-03. This is our 2026-2027 budget, which this is the resolution that covers the budget that we just reviewed. Any questions from the board?
I'd like to make, we had to make a correction. That is the reason for the new paperwork that was in your box. We had to make a correction. The numbers were wrong on the back page.
This is under section 2 appropriations?
Yes, we had to change the numbers. A mistake was made and we corrected it.
What happened is the first edition of this that we had, those numbers were carried over from last year. And
Exactly.
they've been updated to the correct numbers for this year.
Yes.
So our total general fund is $1,384,290. Our total reserve fund is $639,810.
Yes.
And the total of all funds are
No, 2 million.
$2,024,100. All right. And this will be, again, we'll be reviewing this, and it will be adopted on our May 14th meeting. Okay. Any questions, comments from our board? Being none, we're going to move on. We are now on, if I'm looking at this correctly, on NB5, which is our project list. Don created a project account paper that he passed out today, so it has our balance, has our projects that we use this year, or we've spent money on this year, which is Archer Gates, our Summit project for the roads, our Sarasota Electrical for the work being done
this is anything before.
Oh, this is over in phase 2, the work
Yes.
being done over in phase 2,
Exactly.
to update that. We have Alumatech, which is our, the new furniture for phase 2 pool, and Fine Design, which is the landscaping work that's being done, then our Archer Gate, which is the work that was just completed for the pedestrian bike entrance.
Yes.
And then you have in front of you an updated list of the projects themselves. You'll note that at the bottom, I have my balances carrying forward is a little different than Don's, and this is because Don's is more accurate. I have included, I round up a little bit on some of mine, and I have included things that Don doesn't have, like the things that we're gonna talk about today, which is our phase 2 hall AC replacement and the phase 1 pool furniture. So, that's the difference there. Any questions about this? We will give an update at the next meeting also of where we're at with our donation to the pavilion fund.
Yes.
And this will be the donations that we've received without the matching funds. So we'll know what kind of match we're at that point. Any questions about this? Being none, we'll move on. We have NB6, our AC unit, phase 2 building. We have 3 quotes, and I'm gonna ask Vicki to walk through us.
Okay, so the 3 quotes that we have received, these are also companies that have been last year when we were looking to replace the 2 AC units at the phase 2 building. So just so you understand, one of the units at the phase 2 building is a packaged unit. So it comes with the air handler, everything is built in. That's the one that you see on the outside facing left of the building. The other one that is to the rear of the phase 2 building is a split system. So the air handler is inside the phase 2 building where the pool room is, and the AC unit is on the outside of that wall where the pool room is. Just so you understand where we're, what you're looking at when you see the 2 systems. So just want to go over, they're all root systems that I wanted to bring forward to the board to review. They did have another system that was an Allied, which was unfamiliar, and there was some issues with the warranty, the manufacturer warranty. So the root system, that they are all light systems. So there is a 5-ton system. For those of you that are in this business and understand all the technology, 13.4 CO2 package unit and a 13.8 CO2 split system unit. They all come with 5-year parts. Tri-County is the only one that has a 1-year parts. The other is a 2-year labor warranty that you'll see for Always Air. The others are 0. One has no labor warranty, which is Cooling Dynamics. The other one is a 1-year labor warranty for Tri-County. And then there's a 5-year compressor, which is between that, the 5-year compressor and the 5-year parts are the most important part, I believe, of the warranty system for the AC units. And that's where you'll see Always Air. They also include the permitting, the hurricane tie downs, hurricane pad if needed, and the labor. And those are the same warranties for the split system as well. All of that stays the same. I will say the biggest difference that I did receive, and I have an email from Cooling Dynamics, is that they do include a 1-year maintenance service plan for that first year on the unit. So that was an advantage that they're going to come out and service the unit during that first year. So that was the main difference as far as the service and between the 3 AC companies. So Always Air does come in at the lowest bidder at $15,334.81. Cooling Dynamics, these are total prices, $15,596.52. Go ahead.
I have a question about cooling dynamics.
Sure.
I see that I think the cost of the Always Air service, the split system is the same cost that was carried over to cooling dynamics. I think there's a typo because when I looked at the cooling dynamics costs themselves, the total on that page is $19,823, which means that, so you see it right here. You see, there's 19 for cooling, and it's 9 for the first and 9 for the second. So I think that both, so that's the only one I saw that looked like it was an error, cooling dynamics. I think the first item is 9,900, and the second one is another 9,900, which adds up.
Thank you, Sean, for.
It's a big difference, 15.5 to 19.8. So.
A little bit.
Yeah, quite a bit.
Okay, so please make the correction, my apologies, but please make the correction for cooling dynamics, and we'll update our records, which will be corrected for the regular trustee meeting before the vote. So it is $19,823.03.
Okay, questions, comments from our trustees?
I have a question. What was the problem with the Allied system for Always Air?
Well, the Allied system was actually quoted by all three AC companies. And the biggest issue and concern, I should say, that myself and Tanner, when reviewing and asking questions of the companies, was they had a 10-year warranty, but it was a third-party warranty, and there was difficulties getting parts. So, and the cost of the system was hundreds of dollars less expensive. It wasn't a huge difference. So the warranty was an issue.
I have a question. On the Tri-County Air, their note at the top of their option 2, it said that they would need to replace the service disconnect box at condensing unit as the breaker is missing out of the existing one and has been bypassed. Job will not pass inspection this way. So that's a concern I have, I guess.
Okay, so there is and I do not have an answer of why this took place in any prior years or when that even happened, but there is a breaker box that sits outside of the split system. You'll see a breaker box there, and so it's running straight to our panel inside the Phase 2 building. I do not know why that was done in prior years, and so that will be an issue that any of the companies is aware of and will be looking at and what to do to make sure, because they have to pass the permitting and the inspection of the system.
So that will be fixed, no matter who we choose.
But the other companies have not included it in their quotes.
Correct, because they're not charging extra for that, but I will make sure they put it in writing.
Yeah, thank you.
I think it's like $150.
Okay, so where we're at is we have, because of the highlights, I'm assuming that you are suggesting we go with Always Air Services. They are the lowest quote, and they have the best warranties. So it just makes sense to me that would be the one we go with. Any other comments on that?
I have,
We're happy with the work. And we've used them before.
they actually installed the system in the Phase 1 building.
So, I guess if it's okay with the board, that will only bring back the quotes from Always Air to our May meeting, our regular meeting for sense to bring everything back again. So we'll just bring that always air services back, that quote, and that's what we'll be voting on. Okay. Let me get caught up here, my paperwork. Yes.
Something Vicki and I talked about, that I don't know if Vicki talked to you about, have the trustees save all the paperwork from this workshop so we don't have to reprint all this stuff up again for the main meeting. We used to do this, but now we're printing everything up again. I think it's a big waste of paper
Yes.
and ink.
So what we'll do is I'll work with Vicki, and please, everyone should be saving all their paperwork every meeting. I put mine in a file.
Yes.
But we will let you know what items to pull out of this workshop to bring to the regular meeting
Yes.
when we produce the packet.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, the other thing I wanted to state was, this is being paid for by our project money. This is.
That is correct.
Yeah, this is coming out of our project money, so it will be reflected when you look at the project notes, for what we've spent so far. This will be included in that, this cost. Next item we have is, NB7, which is, new pool furniture, again from Alumatech, for the phase 1 pool.
So this is the same company that the board approved to purchase the phase 2 pool furniture. So in the projects account, this has been listed for phase 1 pool furniture to, replace the existing furniture there. So you will see we have the same quantities. I believe we have added a couple of extra round tables. And we will have some side tables as well as the chase loungers and the patio dining chair for each of the round tables. And that total is $17,767.30. And we'll keep it the same color, everything that we did for phase 2.
Okay, one thing I want to ask about this was, did we ever, sometimes things get mixed up in my brain here, but did we talk about what happens to all the old furniture?
We did briefly bring that up. I made some recommendation that we extend a sale or opening that up for sale to our residents, at a piece at a time. If they want to get 2 lounge chairs or 4 chairs comes with a table, or we can work with residents on that and come up with our pricing to extend that out to residents, and we have some place to store it in the meantime. We just can't store all of the furniture, for lengths of time.
So, this is just an idea for the board. If we were to ask our maintenance guys to store this furniture, the old furniture, I think we have room over in the phase 1 building, storage building, over the summer, and then open it up in the fall to people if they want to buy it. And then if they don't want to buy it, whatever's left, maybe we discuss at that time whether or not they scrap it out and we get the money, or we give it to the men's club and allow them to scrap it and take the money.
Sean, one thing we've done in the past, and I would have to go back, we've had silent auctions on this stuff.
Yeah, I think, is that more work than it's worth though in
Yes,
this
it
case?
probably is, but I just wanted to bring it up so that someone doesn't say, well, that's what we've done in the past, but I understand it's a lot more work.
Someone had also said that like the straight back chairs, not the loungers, would be good to be used in the pavilion as we have different events because they stack. I just am throwing that out there. They said that in the.
But then we have to store them long term. Well, I guess we have to talk about that as well.
So I think I guess what I'm trying to do is put this off for discussion until we all come back in the fall. And so we'll just, if it's okay with the board, we'll just have our
Can I-
maintenance store
can I-
everything. Yes.
Where are you gonna store it?
I don't know, George, over in the phase one building somewhere. They
If
said
you're leaving, we can store it at your house.
I'll tell you what's happened in the past. In the phase one building, if you're talking about the building with the helping hands, stuff has been in there and was left in there for years and years. We have finally got this cleared out somewhat last year, so that it's convenient for the people that work for helping hands to get in there and move things around. If we're gonna do this again, I don't know if I would be happy, and I don't know if my wife would be happy either.
it's just for the summer, so it's just for the summer. Just to get it out of the weather for the summer. And then,
And to go along with this, selling this stuff, I know there were beer kegs stored over there for probably 4 or 5 years. And
well, that's the past. We're not gonna do that again, George. Okay, we're not gonna do that again. Okay,
We'll scrap it before we store it for long term.
yeah. I mean, I just wanted to, for the board to think about it and maybe talk with the men's club, and if there's a lot to be scrapped, because, you know, there's work to be done in scrapping this stuff. It's not like we just take it to the scrapyard. You have to remove all the straps of every chair. Yes, you have to cut all the straps off of every chair and just get it down to the metal, and then you can scrap the metal. So maybe that's something that the men's club would be interested in doing, and then they could retain the money from that scrapping instead of paying our maintenance guys to do that work. And then we allow it when everyone's coming back to actually buy some of it. We could put a nominal price on it if they want to buy it for their homes. So I think, I'm just saying, let's do it, because a lot of people have already left, and a lot more are leaving this month or the next couple of weeks, so. All right, any other questions or concerns about that? Okay, we're gonna move on. Can that be in the minutes, though, that we talked about this, and that's what we're gonna do, so that we have it documented, because I won't remember. We're moving on to 8, is that correct? No.
Yes.
Yes. Yes, we're moving on to 8, which is our pool, bathroom, water, sewer backup and repairs. And I think you were handed a quote from Piper on that. Where did I put that?
So we've been having for years now, we've been having backups that happen at the phase one pool bathrooms. And so we've been getting those, we have had some work that was done last summer or summer before last in the breezeway, where that closet is that separates the 2 bathrooms in the breezeway here. And we've continued to have issues with those bathrooms backing up. So we've just in the last month or so, we've had to have it snaked out twice. You know, that's $500 a pop every time they come in to have to do that. It's quite a job. They finally have located that it's in the Y that comes from those bathrooms into that closet. It's like a mop closet, if you will, in the breezeway. So what needs to be done, and what was highly recommended, to not continue to do the snaking every time it backs up. And of course, the backup's not good for our residents to experience when they come into the bathrooms as well. So, and we have to shut them down. So what they recommended, and our maintenance staff, Tanner and Nick, so that they could do this part of the labor work, which is quite helpful schedule-wise and dollar-wise, is that they will go into that closet. They're going to cut out the concrete, expose the pipes. So once the pipes are exposed, then Piper, which has provided, we just received it this morning, but has provided an estimate, basic scope of work. They don't know what they're going to get into until those pipes are exposed. But generally they're going to look, see what's going on while they are backing up in the way that they are, and then provide us with the detail of the scope of work to be done. Then once, which They're showing, I believe, in front of you as a quote for that scope of work. Just that part is $3,000. We would actually put the concrete back in once all the work is done. And so that part is an estimated amount of about $3,000. And then also, there is a mop sink that is in that room that is in not the greatest condition, and it's a lot of years old. So while they're doing the work in that room, we're also proposing to have a new mop sink installed and the new hardware for that mop sink, which is $1,200 to $1,300. So that total would be somewhere between $4,200 to $4,300.
Now, in the mop sink, I think it makes a good sense to replace that while it's all broken open. But they would be replacing all the piping to that, right, also?
I would have to verify that, but that is what we discussed.
Okay. So, is it something we want to bring forward? And is there any questions about this? Do we want to go with, oh, where does this come out of? Is this part of our general fund money? Operational, money?
It's going to put us close into the phase 1 building fund for our budget on that. We can do it. It's just not going to leave us a lot if anything else happens over the summer in the phase 1 building for the operational budget. A good question.
So that's a question. Do we pay it?
It is definitely not budgeted for, and that would be the phase 1 building.
Yes.
I mean, because we needed to understand where we're going to take the money out of. We do have money in our project fund. if we
I have a
wanna do it
question.
there, but- Yes.
It was just a year ago, we were having problems with the laundry also, backing up. Has that been taken care of?
Yes, that has. That's what was going on, from what I understand, that they did all the work in the breezeway. That was last summer, the summer before last, when they did all that work.
Okay.
But it's really all connected. All of those pipes are.
Well, maybe you can bring this to, when we review this at the next meeting. I'm assuming the board wants to carry this forward.
Yes.
So we're carrying it forward for a vote. At that time, please let us know whether it's going to come out of our operational fund or if we need to include it in our project fund.
All right, we can do that. Yeah, I know. We're close. Because that's what the problem is.
Okay, we're now on to NB9, which is our fitness. Is there any other questions? No? Okay. As I heard some. Okay, fitness center workout equipment replacement for the phase 1 fitness, our fitness room.
I just have a question. When I first moved here, you had to go through a half-an-hour training session for the exercise room with a trainer that was from the park. And one of the things that he stated was that if you have any knee replacement or balance issues or grip strength, that for older people using exercise equipment, we should not have hold-down resistant equipment, that we should only be using things that you're seated in because of the overall grip strength. And when I saw all these, they're all pull-down resistance training equipment, and I was just wondering if we had someone consult with us on the age of our individuals using this equipment, because I had asked about the pull-down elements, because we have all the weighted bars and the bench, and he said that individuals that have balance issue, grip issues, and joint replacement should not be using pull-down equipment. So that was my only question.
That's a good question.
It is a good question. I wish I was prepared completely for it. And it makes sense. So this was in an effort to, with the current equipment that we have in there, there is parts to it that we are not able to get replacement for, and this is the all-in-one system that we have currently in the fitness center. So that is what this is looking to replace, unless we are just gonna pull that system out of there. And we can certainly backtrack this, and, because that's the first time I'm hearing about the resistance, pull down resistance, so there could be some other options that we could be looking at. Or, that those individuals that are able to use that and they're being informed and get that process going with, another trainer in the community.
Yeah, I just know at that time he had suggested that we have more recumbent bikes and more sitting on activity.
And that is certainly, that if this is a system that the board and the community doesn't feel that we should replace, that system does have to come out of there regardless, if we replace it or replace it with something completely different that the residents would get more use out of or benefit more from.
Okay, any other comments? Do we want to
So,
review this now, or do we want to put it on hold until we get more information? Okay.
well, and I would like to get, if any other board members, have anything to come back with that, because we have a system here that is basically a similar layout to what's currently in the fitness center, and the other two are just more to they sit more away from the wall, and, they all have similar types of activities, workout activities related to them. It's just how they're laid out in the fitness center. So, but if we want to go a completely different direction, I don't know if that's something, or if we just want to completely put this off through the summer months.
Well, I think there's two questions outstanding. One is, what kind of training equipment should we have for our elderly population? And does it include something like this that we have in front of us? And do we have this and something else so that people that can do resistance training has something to do and can use this equipment, and then people that cannot use the resistance training like this have another option? So that's one question. The other one is our training. We should have some type of, when new people come in and want to use the fitness center, we have a form that they have to fill out that, again, what is it called, or what's the form?
Just like the orientation. We have the waiver.
Oh, we have the waiver, but we have the orientation form. So there's an orientation, and that's given by, is that just given by someone in the office?
It has been, but, we're not qualified trainers. We're just showing them how to use the equipment.
So that's another question for the board. Do we have to have some type of qualified person in here available that can come in and train people at least maybe once a month or something, or once a quarter? That's another question that should come up, because people need to understand what equipment, based on their function, what can they use in there safely. So there's a couple things that we should probably discuss. And then the third thing would be, if we're not gonna go with something, one of these, and vote on it at our next meeting, we should at least to get the old equipment out of there that's no longer functional. We have that removed, so that it's not being.
Yes, I agree. Or someone gets hurt.
I do believe it's non-functional at this point. It is not, it's not usable, so why keep it in there?
Correct.
Get rid of it.
So
Scrap it.
We'll have to vote on that at our next meeting. So that at the very minimum should come back as something to vote on. And then if we have any other information by then that you can share.
Absolutely, I surely will. I'll do some more research.
And it would just be nice to know that the people that are using the fitness as they come in, what pieces of equipment are the people that would utilize it that are going to it now. I just wanted to share what in the past in the orientation, the limitations
I know,
Thank you.
so this is the second item that's come up this morning about getting input from people. We talked about the lawns earlier, there's probably a lot of different things, and then we talked about this for people that are actually using the fitness center. Should we have some type, we've talked about this in the past, of having some type of way that people can give comments, a comment box, and have comment cards, and people can come in and write on their comments and put them in so they don't have to come in and they don't have to find someone to talk to, they can just put a comment on the card, throw it into the comment box.
That's a good idea.
But in order to do that, I think we have to have some type of sign out there saying comment, and then point out the cards in the box that they throw them in. They could use the box that's out there probably, but we have to have some sign and maybe a note out to everyone so that everyone understands. You can come into the office area while you're waiting in line there. You can write your comments on a card and put them in the box.
Yes, that's right. We can put a sign out. And so just to make sure that it's comments, suggestions that can be helpful. And then we have our corrective actions, that is for things that need to be, there are concerns maybe at property or in common ground facilities. But so the comments are going to be helpful to all of the residents, and suggestions.
That could be part of the sign. It's only for common areas, these things. Or, well, in the case of the lawn, the lawn is servicing the whole park, so, the lawn service company. So, but you're gonna get comments. The office is gonna get off-the-wall comments. There's no way of stopping that. There are always gonna be some off-the-wall comments that are gonna be taken and noted, and probably nothing's gonna come of it because there's nothing we can do about it.
I do have a question with regards to that. So, would you want those comments brought to the board meetings? I mean, do you want the full transparency of every comment, or is it going to be at the discretion of? Does that make sense?
Good question. What's the board think?
After working on the deed restriction committee, I would say record all and bring them just so that residents know they were heard.
Absolutely. Okay, thank you.
Good. All right. So I think we're past this item. We're going to move on to the pavilion electrical, item NB10.
So you do not have a document for NB10, and weren't able to get it over here quick enough, but at least wanted to bring it forward to the board. So Sarasota Electrical has been, of course, approved to be the vendor that's completing the electric work at Phase 2 building. And also they have just completed the electrical outlets for the refrigerator that's been delivered in the kitchen, and a couple of extra outlets. So while they were here, I asked them to meet with the general contractor because RFH was just needing to get some direction from an electrician, whether they were going to be our chosen one or not. And, I'm proposing that for the board to consider Sarasota Electrical, since they're doing all the other electrical on these projects. However, while the technician was here, he did meet with with RFH. So RFH just wants to know and be sure that when they go to pour concrete and stub out for the electrical in the concrete for the pavilion, that it's where it is needed. So the technician that came out, he had made a couple of recommendations. He said we can certainly pull from the the panel that we already have here, and then from the Phase 1 building. Or he really recommended, which this is what I'm waiting for from the owner of Sarasota Electrical, to see if he lines up with the same opinion as his technician, is that we would pull from we would actually have a power box installed at the pavilion separate from the Phase 1 building, and we would pull from one of the FPL boxes that is on either side of the swells here that you can see right behind where the pavilion is going to be. That is what he recommended, as a better option than pulling from the power here, because you just keep pulling more and more power from this building. So I don't have a quote or anything, but those were the two options. And he gave the information to RFH that they would need under either option once we make that decision.
Okay, so what we need today is just a general consensus from the board that it's okay for her to continue pursuing Sarasota Electrical for this work, and that and I think that's a great idea, everyone.
Yes.
All right, so we'll have this, hopefully we'll have a quote coming to us at our May meeting that we can approve, and that will give Sarasota Electrical time to, again, work with RFH and get that lined up, so that that's all taken care of before we break for the summer. Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
One other thing that went on in that discussion was he felt that it would be up to Florida Power to help us decide where the source would come from. And he recommended probably the easiest is to go with the box out in the square.
okay, sounds good. Next, we have our ACC rules and regulations updates for number 5, 24, 33, and 42 in front of you. Who wants to walk us through these changes? The board has had a chance to look at them, but we might have questions.
Okay, 5, 24, and 33 came out of our last meeting, ACC meeting, with the consensus of the whole committee to bring it forward. That's where we are today. Let's see. Number 5 is just something we've been working with right since Ian. It's hard to get homeowners, like, for example, from Canada, to get down here to help out with their project, where we can easily get them on the phone if need be. We've got 3 committee members that have gone through the new home process, so we're all up to date. Actually 4 if I'm counting Mike. We know what they need to be, what has to be done for this application to get approved and get to the city for their approval. So that's what we're asking for, is the homeowner and or contractor to be there.
Okay. Anyone have any questions about that? No? Okay, next one.
Okay, what's the next one?
24.
Same thing with the numbers. We got a few homes in here that are a little bit over our 6-inch requirement. 4-inch minimum is a city requirement. And with these new larger homes coming in, the committee felt that going up to 12-inch numbers is, I mean, they look good if anybody's gone out there and seen them. Any questions on that one?
No?
This is trying to bring the park up in the 21st century again. We already have a home in here with 2 unattached sheds. The research that Vicki and I was able to come up with or found was that second shed was allowed when this rule was actually in place at the time. So we're just trying to help out our residents in the park to allow a second unattached shed. And as you can see in the wording there, that they cannot be attached.
Combined, yeah. So, I'm just gonna restate what you just said. So, basically this change is to bring our paperwork in line with what's been going on in our park.
Correct.
We've allowed 2 sheds, 2 detached sheds with some of our residents. And other residents see that happening and then they can't do it themselves. So, this is to say that every home has the right to have 2 detached sheds if they want, and it's a maximum of 192 square feet each. They cannot be combined to make a bigger shed. So that's what the change is entailing. Does anyone have any questions about this?
And it all still has to fit within their setbacks.
Okay, being none, move forward.
The last one is just an update to the list that we have in the office that Vicki and I work adding some things that we've added. So that's just bringing that list up to date. Because we actually have that authority to add or take off whatever we feel needs to.
Yeah, these look straightforward.
Yes.
And this list has really helped out a lot. We approve a lot, just Vicki and I, used to be Cheryl. And so that really cuts our ACC meetings down in time.
Yeah.
All right, any questions about this from our board? Being on this will come back for a vote at our next meeting. And we are now on to 12, deed restriction review committee proposed deed changes or restrictions changes. Okay, this might take a few minutes, so do we want to have a break?
Yes.
Let's take a break, a 5-minute break, please. Please turn off your mics before you leave so that Okay, our next item on the agenda is our discussion about our deed restrictions review committee. The board has the paperwork of the suggested changes in front of us. I'm gonna make a couple comments and I'm gonna turn this over to Joni, because she was the head of this committee. She was the chairperson. I wanna first thank the committee for all the hard work they did on this, all the work the hours of time they put into this. So I think they deserve a big thank you for that work, and I appreciate the work that Joni personally put into this. We don't have to, I can save some of my comments to the end, or I can make them now, Joni. I don't know how you want to proceed with this.
I think the first thing is just to educate that the committee was charged to gather feedback. So the list that you see here is our working document. The committee, on each of the items, you'll see several of them have 3 or 4 different wording and scenarios because different residents had different input and solutions. So we wanted to make sure everybody's points were taken. I would encourage everybody to also take a look at the minutes that are posted on the website so that you can see the discussions that took place. The committee did a fabulous job of going through the overall input. A lot of the issues that were brought up were not deed restriction items. So if you don't see your input on here, it's probably because it was not a deed restriction, but a rules and regulation component. But please take a look at the minutes that are on the website because our secretary for our committee, Cindy Earls, did a fabulous job of recapping the overall resident comments and discussions. So what the committee is submitting is our overall working document. This document can be workshopped all the way up until the trustees. So this is by no means a final document. The trustees can make changes. More residents can comment as you're going through this. This is a working document. So this by no means was from the committee saying these are the things that we think should happen. So the major areas that were discussed in the committees that came through was the home replacement elements, carports, there was major discussions on carports. So you'll see to 3B, you'll see 3 different options there because several people wanted items broke out, some wanted it to be all inclusive. Property ownership, the wording was changed to make sure that it was marriage partnerships, domestic partnerships, cohabitation. Deed restrictions, we just cleaned up some of the language there. Compounds, several residents had said to add cargo trailers to the overall list. That was there. Major discussions on pet restrictions. And I have to tell you that there is not a consensus, but we thought that that should go forward and let the residents decide. So there is one to eliminate designated pet sections and to eliminate the overall size of pets. The other thing was propane tanks. That was a new discussion that came to the committee. So you'll see language added there. Again, the size of pets. Individuals were on both sides of the issue, whether we should keep it, whether we should not keep it. Let's see. We also talked about liens versus estoppels versus that when we get done with this document and it goes to the attorney, those should just match our current practices. So whether we're doing liens or estoppels, that was the discussion. There were several other elements that came up, again, that were rules and regulations, dog parks, parking. And so that, what you have in front of you is what the committee thought were a reflection of the information that we were given.
Thank you, Jody. Okay, I just have a couple questions moving forward. First, is there someone who's gonna update this document? You had the secretary that created this, but are they available to continue with that, or does this need to be done by another person now going forward? Any updates to it?
No, after each of the workshops here, then it's the Board of Trustees that will now take over this document and make changes, because then that document comes from the Board of Trustees to the attorneys for review.
Okay,
And then it's put in ballot form after it goes to the attorneys.
okay, so as a board, I know the board is gonna suggest that I'm the one person that has to make the changes to this document. I'm not sure that I wanted to take on that responsibility. That was one of the reasons why I didn't want to take this, be the head of the committee. So, that's something we need to discuss. This is gonna take some work, and anyways, I may take it on, but I'm just throwing it out there. If someone else really wants it, they can do it. Some of the suggested changes, that I think in reading this, well, first of all, this document here was created from the consolidation document that I had originally put out there to the board and put out. Legally, we have two documents sitting out there from a legal standpoint. We have one for phase 1 and one for phase 2. Most of the wording is exactly the same for both documents. Therefore, I think we can continue when we talk to legal of creating a ballot that's combined.
I think if we keep the pet restriction components, we have to do the two separate,
Correct.
because the.
No,
current
I meant legally, I'm talking about ballot as opposed to when it's filed, so.
Right, but I'm saying if we keep the pet restriction on the ballot, phase 1 ballot will look different than phase 2 ballot, because of where we have pet sections are different on unit 1 and unit 2.
I agree with that, and I was gonna point that out, because right now, what you've listed here is only, phase 1. You blocked it out for that section. If you look on page, pet restriction areas, where it was page 5, what's stated there is only what's included in block 1, which is phase 1. The wording would also have to be duplicated here for this section for, phase 2, which would be block 2. Even saying that though, I think an overall ballot, and we'll discuss this, but I think an overall ballot could have everything together without saying this is phase 1 and this is phase 2, because it's pretty much consistent, except for that restriction area. We could state that this is for block phase 1 and this is for phase 2. However, as a board, I don't think it makes sense for us to be able to say, because everyone, we have 865, all owners have a vote in this, and they're voting on everything. So phase 2 voters are still voting on phase 1, okay, things. And phase 1 is still voting on phase 2 when it comes to the pet section. Everyone has an equal vote on that. So it really doesn't matter that we separate it by phase 1 and phase 2. And I certainly wouldn't want the votes to come in and say, we're gonna remove the pet section restriction in phase 1, but we're not gonna do it in phase 2. That would be a problem.
Yeah, we were just going off the House bill.
Yeah.
The House bill, it's listed as unit 1 and unit 2. That's the
Okay.
reason why we were saying that when we file the amendments, that's something for our attorney, whether we can.
The other thing I would like to talk to our attorney on, just letting the board know, when we file for the amendment, is right now we have the original documents for phase 1, phase 2, then we have the amendments documents for phase 1, phase 2, and they're very hard to read. I would like us to be able to work with legal to combine everything, once we have these changes in, voted on, combine everything into just the 2 documents, roll up all the amendments into the document, and have just 2 documents publicized, and filed. So that will be something that Vicki and I will be talking to our.
And originally, that's what the committee was doing, is we were cutting and pasting these into the original document. And Vicki and I had a call to our attorney, and they said no, to have the proposal separate.
Okay, great. So I like the way this is set up. I think it's the way we want to go moving forward in order to continue to work it so we get to a point where we have the actual ballot. A couple of things, other things that I would like the board to think about is when we talk about each of these sections, I think it would be easier for our residents to understand if we only included where it says currently states, we only include the sentence before the change there, and then the sentence, and then when you do the recommendation, the sentence after. So if we look at the first one, home demolition requirement, it says currently states, we would take out the first sentence there. It says a condemned home all the way through where it says good cause shown. That first sentence, or the first 2 sentences, and just put ... and say when home is removed, the homeowner is responsible for the clean the lot. And then we would include, so they would see, and then you would have a ... for in addition, ... after that. So that they would see that the recommendation was including that's new wordage, and it's coming in right where it's coming in, so they're only reading what's changing. I think when we put in some of these, like where we talk about the 45 and over deed restriction, we have a huge paragraph there that most of it, they don't need to read. We could just include what's changing where it currently reads, and then, and I can, if I'm doing the work, I will bring in a suggestion to show you what I'm talking about, so it's clearer. I just think there's a lot of documentation here, extraneous, that it's gonna be hard for our residents to understand when they're going through the ballot.
Yeah, no, this was just a working document.
No, I understand that.
But the key is like when you get to the carport thing, we had to include all of the
Yes.
verbiage because a lot of people wanted this out and then wanted this in, this out. So that's why there's 3 different areas. So if you don't have the original to see how it worded, it's hard to follow.
Right. And, well, my suggestion to the board for that would be when we give this out, this ballots out to everyone, we include the full combined wording, the full combined deed restriction, a copy of that to everyone. So that when you get your ballot, you have the original, and it's the whole deed restriction, which is combined, which is what you're using for this. Okay, so they can compare, they can go for section 3S, they can look it up on the original document where it is, and then they have the condensed ballot to actually vote from. And that would help people to see, they can see where it is in context and where it is that they're voting on. So that's just a suggestion, but I think that would help out. And then everyone would also have a hard copy of the deed restriction of what currently states. So that's just something for everyone in the board to think about over the summer. Because not much work of this is going to be done until we come back in the fall. This is pretty much where we're at until we come back and then start in our workshops looking at it closer. I've talked about having Andy consolidate everything.
But now that it's out there, we can get good feedback from residents on wording wise.
Yes, we can also get more input, and that would be go back to our comments being available for everyone to put a comment out there. Okay, so the other thing I wanted to just ask the board is, if we were going forward, if we were to give ourselves the fall, so from September through December, to rework and come up with the actual ballot that we could submit, well, actually, we'd only have September through maybe October, early November, and then submit it, what we what we're suggesting the ballot to look like, we would submit that for review with legal and make sure everything, there's nothing in there that is a problem. And not vote on it as a board until, say, the January regular meeting. Because once we vote on it, then we have to have everything ready to give to all of our residents, all of our owners. So is that what everyone's looking at? Is not voting on this until the January regular meeting?
That's what was discussed in our committee as the timeline.
Okay. So does anyone, I mean, we don't need to walk through all these right now. I will say though, that the way the carport is set up is pretty good. We do have to have those three. There's three possible changes that we're voting on. So you do have to have three different, it would split up into three different sections. I would suggest that we have the number 3 is actually the first sentence of that restriction. So I would suggest that in line, we would put that one first, and then the second one would be, number 2 would be shown as what number 1 is here, and then number 2 would be actually number 3. So again, if I'm the one that's going to be making updates to this as we walk through it, that would be my suggestion.
Yeah, these were just in the order in which they were presented to the committee.
I'm trying to, and I'm talking a lot, but what I'm really trying to let everyone know is I think we need to make sure that we make this ballot as easy to understand as possible before we go into passing it out to everyone for a vote. Because I've heard a lot of input from people in the past that said it was too confusing, they didn't know what they were voting on or how to vote. And the other, one last thing I'm going to state on this is when we get to the point, before we actually make the final vote on this, we should probably have a workshop, an open workshop or a public meeting where we can tell people, anyone wants to come and go over the ballot with them, okay, so that they understand it. Anyone who wants to understand, we could put it on streaming so that people at home could see it too. But just have a workshop that says, this is what we're proposing, the changes are that you can vote on, and this is what it's gonna mean if you vote this way or that way. This is what it means for the park, okay? And make it clear to everyone so that they understand what they are voting on. If that's, so these are all things we'll talk about again in the fall, but I'm just throwing it out there right now so you have time to think about it over the summer. Anything else on this? Thank you again for the committee and the work that you guys did. This gets us moving in the right direction on making these changes. Next item is our resolution 2026-4. Now, we already voted on a change it was 2025-5 was replaced by 2026-1. And that was done at a previous workshop as well as regular meeting approved. This is just going back, we've missed this. Somehow, when I was actually taking the forms that we got from our last meeting that we approved and putting them in my book, I realized that the overall resolution was not updated. So what this does is it just shows that it incorporates 2026-01 into our original that talks about how all these resolutions work together. And so at the top, you'll notice that it says Board Resolution 2025-03. That's now, since we have 01 was this original document that we've already approved, okay? 02 and 03 are our new resolutions that we talked about today for the assessment and the budget. And then, so we had to go with 04. So 04 would replace, 2026-04 is replacing 2025-03. And it shows the changes there and how this document would be updated. Does everyone understand that? Do you have any questions about it? Well, I don't expect too many people out there because, I mean, to understand it, because this is something that the board, this is the paperwork the board has to deal with. But the board needs to understand it. Does everyone on the board understand what we're doing here? All right, so this will be coming back for a vote. With that, we're gonna move on to our supplemental items. The first one we have is summer coverage for change orders. So how do we wanna handle change orders that may come in from RFH or Sarasota Electrical over the summer as they're building this pavilion? Yes, I'm on supplemental number 1. I mean, we haven't had a lot of time to think about this, so this is off the cuff. I'm gonna ask Vicki what her idea is on this, on how she thinks we should handle it.
So what I would recommend consider is first, Bob is the trustee liaison for the pavilion. And we already know we're going into this with a change order of installing a sidewalk from the pavilion out to the Facebook parking lot. So we know we're going in with a change order potentially. Is that the board consider potentially setting aside a dollar amount of funds that are, I don't know if you would say pre-approved for change orders, and then Bob could be, along with our trustee, could be the ones to review, the change order, in addition to myself, review the change order, and to be sure that it's staying within whatever the pre-approved amount is for the change orders that may take place.
Well, the monies that are being used to pay for this are the donations.
Right.
So you can only spend what's already, there. So
It's really just making sure that we are accounting for those funds and how they are being spent, and that there are change orders that should be, that they're valid change orders, that is for the pavilion and for, an agreement that there are change order that should happen to complete the construction of the pavilion.
So that's one way to do it. We could set an amount that if the change order is within a certain amount, then it's okay for the office or Vicki and Bob to make that decision. I'm working with the contractors. And if it's over that amount, I guess we have to call a special meeting to deal with it. What's the board want to do with this?
Sean, why don't we say we can approve up to whatever we have in donations, but anything beyond that would have to come from the board? You know what I'm saying? Because, it's donated funds, so we should be able to say, well, we can use up all the funds for this pavilion. But we'd have to have, because we said we weren't going to use park funds. So,
Well, the only thing I would like to be, we're gonna have to bring something to the board to vote on.
yes.
Of course. So, I would like the wording to state, number 1, that you can't go over what monies we already have, okay? But number 2, you can't get crazy. We don't wanna, I think we know that our Vicki and Bob won't go crazy with these change orders. But the change order should have to be in line with the actual project that's already been stated. So it has to be something that's needed in order to continue the project we've already approved, which would not include things like, fans and lighting and all that, because that has not been approved yet as part of the project. So it has to be part of the original project, change order that's needed to complete that project.
Yes.
So if we have that in writing that we can vote on, then we'll bring that to the board. Is that okay with everyone?
Yes.
Okay.
I kind of agree with what Vicki's saying about herself. doing this. I don't see problems per se. I don't think it'll be like it was in here. Surprise, surprise, we have drop cords for lights, but, I don't see any foreseen, and talking with Robert a couple of times now, I don't see any foreseen problems unless when they start excavating out there to get it level. Something's in the ground, we don't know what it is.
Okay, I agree with that about things. Summer, we're gonna move on to number 2 here. Summer coverage for gate hits for fines. So right now, as I stated earlier, we have, the process for fines has to come before the board. The office brings it to the board, or Vicki brings it to the board, the violation. The board approves that they want to move the violation moving forward, and then the violation goes to the fine committee, and the fine committee makes sure that everything is legal or whatever, that it fits within the fine process correctly, and then they approve it, and then the fine is assessed to the owner or the resident. But in this case, this happens so often, and we have a fine established that is a set fine that's $100. You bump it, you knock it off, it's $100. Okay, we also have a number of residents that say, yep, I did it, I know I did it, here's the $100, okay, for my fine. So it would be nice if we could streamline the process a little bit over the summer, so that, number one, for this, only this gate hits, that, number one, the board is allowing, because, well, the other thing I want to state is in all these cases, we have video evidence. This is not something that's subjective. This is, you hit it, it's on the videotape, we got, it's gonna happen. It's gonna go before the board, it's gonna be approved, it's gonna go to the fine committee, they're gonna approve it because we got you dead to rights, okay? So if we could streamline this for the summer months and say, the office does not have to bring this one thing, it's on, they have the video evidence, it's, it doesn't have to come to the board before it goes to the fine committee. It can just go right from the office to the fine committee, and be assessed that way, just for these occurrences of gate hits, the gate arm hits. That would be one thing to think about as a board. Second thing would be, for the people that want to pay right up front, they say, yep, you got me on video, it's going to happen, I'll just give you my fine right now, and to allow them to have a document that they can sign, and the wording will have to come up, the office will have to come up with the wording, but said something that, I can sign this document, I understand my rights, and I don't want to go before the fine committee, I'm open to pay the fine right up front and be done with it. That would save time on the office work as well as the fine committee work, and I'm just wondering if the board is open to those discussion of those right now, and maybe bring something to the board for vote at our regular meeting. What do you think?
I totally agree with what you just said, that if they're willing to admit that they did it, and they're willing to pay up the $100, well, why does it need to come to us?
I agree.
Now, the one thing that would be over and above that is if it totally damages it to the point where it's unusable, then they're gonna pay, but that's outside of the fine committee process anyway. That goes directly to their insurance company for payment, so that's one we don't have to worry about. All right, so if Vicki and I will help, we can bring something to the board for the regular meeting on that, then we'll do that. If the board's open to that, we'll bring it to review it. Okay, the next item we have is this remote call instructions. We have a document that was given to us in our mailboxes this week. It's called Remote Call-in Instructions for the Remote Caller. And what this allows is that if one of the trustees is not, cannot make the meeting, and we have one, we know that George has to leave the first week in May, so he won't be here at the May 14th meeting. But this would allow him to call in remotely and still participate in the meeting. And that's what this is for. We need to probably vote on this, so this is why it's coming to the workshop. I think it's something that, if anyone has any questions, this maybe, who wrote this up? Kim, did you write this up? Kim, could you just walk us through this quickly, and then I think if we are in agreement, we should bring this back and have it voted on at our regular meeting.
Well, there's a little caveat, because when I had it working, our sound system was working, so, once we get the sound system working, because right now, if you call in, it goes to the stream, but it's not coming back into the room, so I'm working with Tanner and Nick on either workarounds or a solution to it for right now, where we're using some temporary sound equipment.
Okay, maybe for that instance, for George, we can use somebody's cell phone. They can call into a cell phone, put it on.
Yeah, something. But essentially, this is a product I've been working with Rick on for the last 2.5 years, and we got it kind of sort of working, and then we got it working in February. We had 3 people in here. We had an iPhone, a Samsung, I'm not sure, maybe another iPhone, but we were testing different types of phones. It essentially is a web page, so you would either, if you weren't going to be here, you'd tell the office, and they would send you a link, and it would either from an email or a text. You click on the link, it opens a web page on your phone, and it allows you to select your camera, because phones have front and back cameras, or if you're using a computer, you can have a front and back camera on your computer, or a tablet. It works with all 3 of them. So you pick what your camera is, you pick what your sound is. They do recommend you have headphones, but I've used it with headphones. I've used it with my phone speaker, my computer speaker. It's just the headphones are a little bit easier. Sometimes you get a little bit of an echo if you're using your regular speaker and your microphone picks up on it. And you click start, and then it comes in here. We have to do a little more setup here on the streaming software, but you would show up, so you'd have to call in a little bit before a meeting, and we would set you up. We've got it set up so you would actually show up in a little corner, like on the streaming, how the resident camera shows up. And you would mute your mic, and then you'd unmute it when you wanted to talk.
This is just very similar to like a Zoom.
It's very similar to a Zoom meeting. The reason why we handed out the instructions, this meeting went really long, but the reason why we handed out the instructions is we wanted to offer, if any of you wanted to test out your phones after the meeting, that you could go on the hallway and you could send your text and you could test it out, just to make sure your phone worked, because like I said, we're dealing with different versions of iPhones and Samsungs and Pixels. But it should work similar.
Okay, thank you.
We're hoping Thursday, during the sunshine law training, that maybe you could do it then. Hopefully we'll have the sound system up and running, so we can test it then if anybody needs to try it.
Okay. So, yeah, that would be my biggest suggestion going forward, just that George test it before he leaves. The first week in May, test it so that he can call in if he so chooses to. Okay.
As long as my main.
The boss. Yeah. Okay, so that is what I wanted to. Okay, so we already talked about that. So I think we're good. I'm opening up now we're through our supplemental items. So trustee comments. Anyone has trustee comments? Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know if we want to consider, since this is our one more meeting to vote on things, setting some of our project money aside for the tennis court repairs where the cracks are developing. I know we haven't researched it a lot, but so we'll get it done during the summer and not when season started.
So it has been reported at the tennis courts that there are some new cracks that have developed, not potentially, they don't appear to be cracks that were already there that are resurfacing, because they are cracks that are going from one end of the tennis court to the other on some of the courts lengthwise. And that is not an item that is under warranty for the resurfacing that was completed by Stewart's tennis courts. So this would be what I would propose, is that we have, which I planned on working with, doing this over the summer to have something in September, is looking at different vendors to come out and review these cracks and give us a quote and type of work, scope of work that would need to be done for these cracks. You know, it's Florida, it's sitting on shifting sand, so cracks are likely. You know, so that's just something, we don't want them to get worse and, you know, develop more. But it's not something that you can quickly turn around with these contractors, getting them here in a couple of weeks and getting things to the board.
All right. The only thing I want to state on that also is I do play tennis on those courts, and so far, they're an eyesore, for sure. But they're not impacting the play of tennis. And they're not shifting the ground where one part of the crack is higher than the other, so that it becomes a tripping hazard. We don't want it to happen, because obviously when that happens, we can't play on that court anymore. I think it's a great idea to try to get some information over the summer. I don't think it's gonna be a cheap fix by any means, because I don't know how, well, I'm not a contractor that does that work, but I don't know how you stop that from happening when it's the ground itself that's causing the crack, probably, the shifting of the ground. Unless they can put some type of glue or something in that seam itself to hold it, and then, you know, I just don't know how it happened, how they do it. Maybe there is, maybe, yeah, we need qualified people to come in and tell us, but I don't know that's gonna be that cheap. So, but that's a suggestion. If we want to set some money aside from our project fund to get some people in here to look at it, or if we think we can get the quotes without having to pay any money, get people to come in here and look at it and then submit a quote. Then if it turns out that it's something that can be handled, there's also the chance of, or we can also call a special meeting over the summer in order to get it fixed prior to the season starting. That's another option.
And I will keep, you know, looking, and I already have a list of vendors, of contractors that we can go to get on site to look at what's going on with the tennis courts and determine the solution that can be presented to the board. But I will also continue to watch and look at those tennis courts to make sure that there's not going to be any potential safety hazard. And it was going to be one of my top three, in consideration of what these results were going to be from contractors on recommendation. So it's going to be potentially a top three project for our new fiscal year project account.
With the money that we spent to this particular contractor, I strongly advise we not use them anymore, because they didn't say what they were going to do. They didn't do it. We've had trouble getting them to come back out. I just think we need to stay away from them.
Okay. Thanks for comments. So we in agreement that we'll just allow Vicki to move forward. If there is something that comes back that we can act on prior to the season, then we'll call a special meeting. We have to deal with that. Any other comments from our trustees?
Yeah, don't forget 1:30 today, the groundbreaking. Something very special for this park. A lot of work's been done. A lot of money's come in. More money is coming in. I don't know where we're at right now, but it's going to be a big success, and can't even be proud.
I do have a quick update on the donations that have been received from beginning 4/1 is to today, as a matter of fact, this morning, is $25,100. That's just since the 4/1, since the matching donation was announced.
That's wonderful news. That means we have $50,000. Okay, we have, anything else from the trustees? Being nothing, we're gonna move on to resident comments.
John Summerson, 682 Highkent Drive. My comments is not based on the resident comment, but on the men's club. Just a couple particular points. Following up with Bob, I'm just for the men's club, just elated to what's happened and all the work that's gone into the pavilion. And everyone who's played a major role in that, and a minor role, we, the men's club, are so thankful for the efforts that have been put in. The second thing is on old pool furniture. What I'd like to have is a point person to be able to get with me on whatever decide with the board on the old pool furniture. And if it involves some participation or support by the men's club, I would like that point person to be able to get with me. I will be out of pocket in the months of September and October. What I would like to do is have maybe some sort of proposal that I could bring to the steering committee on November 5th. So I don't know what the time frame is with this decision. I would like to have the point person as Vicki Lawrence. I think she's involved with a lot with the furniture and that, and so by November 5th, I would like to have something in a proposal form that I can go ahead and take to the steering committee. So these are a couple points. George, I'm sorry if furniture stays over in the shed till that time, but there's just nothing I can do about it. That's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. We can definitely do that.
Hey, Russ Lebo, 6862 Alani Court. So I've been down here about 2 weeks. I didn't make it down for the winter, but I'm from Ohio. I'm a snowbird, I guess. But when I come down, I see the loss of the pine trees. And I know you guys all see it, I'm sure. And you're doing removals and trying to, well, I'm not sure exactly what you guys are doing, but you're removing them like you should be. But I hired an arborist because 2 of those pine trees are, I think they're on park property, but they're really close to my house. So I'm not even sure if I might own one of them. So I hired an arborist to determine if we can do anything for the pine trees. He suggested, yeah, there's a ton of things we could do to help preserve, not just take down the dead ones, but there are a ton of things. It's best management practices for trees. They used to grow up in a forest with shaded roots. The ones over by the tennis court, I mean, we used to not mow that at all. It was all overgrown, and so these trees have gone through, since Ian, they've gone through, like what we've gone through, upheaval. I mean, they are in a stressed condition, just like we were all stressed, and probably still are from Ian. These trees are very stressed. They need help, and if you don't want to lose all of them, you need to help them. There's very simple things you can do. Some of them cost money, some don't. But two of the simplest things you could do is just, and it helps with the lawn care. Stop mowing around and beneath them. Anything that's below their crown is where they absorb their moisture and their nutrients. Their root system is only 4 to 5 inches below the surface. So if you're mowing over them continuously, or if you're bringing in tree trimming equipment continuously to remove the old ones, you're compacting that root zone. And then when it does rain, the water, it just goes right into the ditches, and it's like cement pack. It's like hard pack. So if you could stop mowing beneath them, that would just tremendously help them. Also, when you do have to remove a tree, don't grind the stump. Just leave the stump, because when you grind that, you're creating a huge hole in the ground that is just where moisture is just evaporating from. And plus, the surrounding trees have their roots. They grow all in amongst themselves. So when you're grinding a root system, you're stressing the tree even more. So 2 things you can do without spending a dime. Stop mowing them, saves you money in the mowing, and stop grinding the stumps. I know it's, but you got to decide now, because it's borderline environmental catastrophe. I mean, you're not going to have any trees, any big pine trees. And a lot of the value of this park, when I bought in here, was the pine trees. I came in, I was like, there's nothing like this. You got the parks in the neighborhood that are on the canal, and they all have draws and attractions, but that was the draw for me. So when I see it disappearing, it's just tough to handle, honestly. So if you could think about it, I mean, it's on my list. It's a number one priority. These trees, some of them, and we've lost the oldest ones. The biggest ones seem to go first. The two that are going by the Phase 2 pool, one has been removed and one is brown now by the Phase 2 pool. I mean, you're going to be sitting there in new pool furniture, but you're not going to have anything to look at. I mean, just.
Thank you, Russ. Appreciate it.
So if you could, try to look at it, make it a
Okay.
priority.
Thank you.
In regards to the trees, after Ian, they were stressed so bad. that, To my knowledge, there's some kind of disease that's affecting all of them.
They're pine beetles.
That
The pine
eventually
beetles
is going to
due to
take care
drought
of them all,
conditions.
and we've already been told it's not going to do any good in spring.
So I hired an arborist, and he said, yes, the pine beetles are native. They are here. They attack stressed trees that are in bad shape. So they get the ones that are, and I'm no arborist or forester, but the biggest trees have the biggest amount of root space and take the biggest amount of moisture and nutrients. So they are the ones that seem to be getting hit first. But not all cases, but if you just, they're still stressed. So if you just try to unstress them, it would help. Nature is very resilient, but you have to see it, you have to listen to it, and you have to be willing to try to help. I mean, you can either continue on status quo, or you can really. I was told, I approached two of the board members this past week about it, and I was told that there is an arborist for your tree service that takes care of the trees, and they should be able to come up with a plan to manage the ones that are left. Because you can see, I can see some that are browning, yellowing, not browning, but yellowing now. And the way the beetle works is it attacks in the spring, and then the males seek out a weak tree, they burrow in, and then and you can see the four that are yellow now, you can see at the base of them, and even up in, there's holes, and then there's red sap coming out where the boar has gone in. The males go in, they bore straight in. The females, they attract the female. She comes, she goes in, and then they bore off to the side. So then it fills up with, and they lay their eggs. So then the larvae hatch, they feed on the phloem, or I believe that's how it's pronounced. It's the water system that feeds the tree just under the bark. They eat that, chew it all up, and then the tree can't get water. But then the larvae come out, they hatch, and they go to the trees next to them. But a healthy, unstressed pine tree of this sort normally can fend off the beetle. It produces sap, and you'll see trees that get hit by it and they get nicked. They have sap around where they got hit. So a healthy tree will produce enough sap to fend off a beetle attack. According to my arborist, he said spraying's he was not interested in spraying anything. He was more trying to protect the trees, give them a break to come back. And then if you really want to help, if we don't get the rain, I mean, we're in a severe drought. From what I've been told, it's historic. I mean, so it's not like hard. I mean, it's really hard on the trees because they don't get water from their owners. I mean, God is their owner, and He's not watering right now. So we need to give Him a break, and it's.
Well, you've given us some things to think about. We can definitely have our office talk to our arborist, see what ones have them. See
He
what it
should
would
know
cost,
all about the beetles.
Here's a couple things to think about, for us all to think about. One is, it costs money to have an arborist come in and check our trees, so that would be something that we'd have to approve as an ongoing cost to have something like that, check our trees, and tell us what needs to be done for them. That's one thing. And it's not saying that we can't do that. I'm just saying that's a process we'd have to go through. I don't think we can do much about the stumps. We have to grind the stumps because that's a hazard. We cannot have stumps all over the place. And our deed restrictions say we grind stumps, so we have to do the stumps. So we have to continue to do that. But as far as possibly helping the trees out. There are some, if our arborist can come in and talk to us about that, and we can get a quote that's good, then we can approve that to try to save them. And you're right, we want to save as many as we can. So thank you for bringing this to, I mean, we've had this at our attention before. However, we've been told different things from different arborists. Some say that they're all gonna die from the very get-go. I've been here for 3 years. I've heard they're all gonna die at some point. There's nothing you can do. You know, I've been told that. So it depends on who you talk to sometimes on the information you get. But we can continue to look at that.
Absolutely.
And I thank you for bringing that to us.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know how this works, if it's a back and forth or if
No, we're good, I think, at this point. We're good because it's been over 3 minutes.
So last comment, I would encourage you to not take anything off the table. I mean, if it's healthier for the tree to just maybe cordon off the area, keep the mowers out, and then if you have a few stumps, nobody should be in there. Give the trees a break. No, nothing should be off the table.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments from our residents? Being none, I'm open for an adjournment.
Make a motion.
We have support? We have support. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, everyone, for attending today.